I'm not sure what to do about the video. It was working 5 minutes ago.
Ernie, are you on your computer or your phone?
Laptop. I guess I could log on my phone, maybe.
Yeah, why don't you try on your phone and at least we could see you then.
Okay, I'm gonna
See if that'll work.
all this.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, but you got an echo. I think if you mute the other one and.
We good to get started then?
So,
Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of Bellbrook City Council. Today is Monday, June the 14th, 2021. We'd stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which
for which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for all. Thank you. Pam, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Hoke,
Here.
Mr. Havens.
Here.
Dr. Van Veldhuizen. You're muted.
Here, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Mr. Greenwood.
Here.
Mrs. Middlestetter.
Here.
Mayor Schwaller.
Here. We have a motion to excuse Deputy Mayor Nick Edwards tonight.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Deputy Mayor Edwards.
Thank you. And can we have a second?
I'll
I'll
second
second
it.
it.
Elaine, thank you. You went first, I think.
A motion was made by Mr. Greenwood to excuse Mr. Edwards from the June 14th City Council meeting. This was seconded by Mrs. Middlestetter. Mr. Greenwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter,
Yes.
Mr. Hoke,
Yes.
Mr. Havens,
Yes.
Dr. Van Veldhuizen,
Yes.
Mayor Schwaller.
Yes. Thank you, Pam. Before you should have the minutes of the May 24th regular meeting. Are there any corrections, deletions, or adjustments or additions to those minutes?
None,
No,
Mayor.
Mayor.
None.
Okay, hearing none, I declare those minutes approved as submitted. Thank you. We also had a community leader meeting on Monday, June the 7th. There are no minutes from that meeting as there was not a quorum present from the city, nor was any city business discussed or did any city business take place. I have no announcements or special guests tonight, but we do have a public hearing of ordinance 2021-7. Councilwoman Middlestetter, please. Elaine, I think you're muted.
Okay, let's go back here. Here we go again. Ordinance number 2021-7. An ordinance repealing old section 412.07, special events of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, and enacting a new section 412.07, special events of the Bellbrook Municipal Code. Whereas the Bellbrook Municipal Code includes section 412.07, special events, which establishes procedures and outlines regulations for the production of special events of a temporary nature in the city of Bellbrook. And whereas the definition of a temporary special event included those held on private property open to the public, and whereas revisions to section 412.07 have been recommended by staff to remove provisions related to private property special events and to provide regulations only for events on public property. Now therefore, the city of Bellbrook hereby ordains, section 1, the old section 412.07, special events of the Bellbrook Municipal Code is hereby repealed. Section 2, a new section 412.07, special events of the Bellbrook Municipal Code is hereby enacted as set forth in Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference, with deletions shown by strike-through and addition by italics and underlined. Section 3, it is hereby found and determined that all formal actions of this council concerning and relating to the adoption of this ordinance were adopted in an open meeting of this council, and that any and all deliberations of this council that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public and in compliance with all legal requirements, including but not limited to section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after the earliest period provided by law.
Thank you, Elaine.
Over to you, Melissa.
I want to jump in here if possible. I need to recuse myself from this ordinance.
Thanks, Ernie. Pam, make sure the record shows that Councilman Havens recused himself from discussion and voting on ordinance 2021-7. Thank you.
Ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So as everyone is aware, back in 2019, we had added this ordinance to our codified ordinances to outline special events and how those would be organized and approved through the city to make sure that all of the appropriate departments with the city, police, fire, service are all aware of what's going on, when, and where. And so we had included private property as part of this. And now that we have seen this ordinance function, it's not necessary to include private property. I had spoken with an insurance agent regarding special events on private property or commercial property, and their general liability insurance should cover any type of event should something happen with an attendee from the public. Of course, they are always encouraged to get additional insurance just to make sure that they're covered, but we decided to remove the provisions that dealt with private property and just left the public property. And we further defined public property So public property would be anything that was on land by the parks, the public school property, and any public rights of way, including but not limited to streets, sidewalks, and waterways. So that was one of the big changes that we made. We struck out the references to private property. We also made some changes to some definitions. And we also, let's see, I'm trying to find some of the other high points here. We had added some information in terms of the application and some different items that they would need to provide as it related to the layout of the event, any traffic flow changes that would be on roadways or sidewalks, and then also outlining the way that alcohol would be handled by getting a temporary permit from the state of Ohio, very clearly spelled out. And we also outlined that any regularly occurring event is only applicable to the specific type. So if you wanted to have a car show and then you wanted to have a parade, like all in the same exact place by the same organization, we wanted to make sure that those would be separate permits just because those would all be handled differently. But if it's a car show every weekend and they're blocking down a street or blocking off a street, then we would only need one application for that. So we did make some changes to that, added some information about some clarification language to signage. And then we changed the penalty from $100 to $250. That was a recommendation from our municipal attorney. And then it also talks, adds some more information about penalties where basically the organizer is supposed to leave the public property in the same manner in which it was found, and that we could charge the actual cost of any necessary repairs and cleanup if necessary. And then anyone that commits a violation of the ordinance may not be eligible for approval for future special events. So this was something that we kind of went through and started to modify, and then our municipal attorney had added a number of changes, which is why there is a table attached to the ordinance that very specifically spells out all of the changes. There's also a brand new permit that's attached because we had changed some of the language, which did not need to be included in the application. And we just made sure that it all went together very nicely. So that is what is before you tonight to consider approval of.
Thank you, Melissa. Any comments or discussion of council?
Nothing for me.
Melissa, I want to thank staff for cleaning this up. I think this is just some nice changes and tweaking, and it just goes to show that we're not, we pay very much attention to what happens on a day-to-day basis. We saw some clauses and provisions that didn't make sense and weren't meaningful, so we got them cleaned up, and I'm glad we did. Anyone else on council with any comments? Given this is a public hearing, at this time, we'd like to open the floor up to anybody, the view in the audience, who have any comments with regards to ordinance 2021-7. Any hands raised, Pam? At this point, I'm going to close the public hearing on ordinance 2021-7 and request a motion.
I move that we approve 2021-7.
Thank you, Elaine. And a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Forrest.
A motion was made by Mrs. Middlestetter to adopt ordinance 2021-7, an ordinance repealing old section 412.07, special events of the Bellbrook Municipal Code, and enacting a new section 412.07, special events of the Bellbrook Municipal Code. And this was seconded by Mr. Greenwood. Mrs. Middlestetter,
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood,
Yes.
Mr. Hoke,
Yes.
Dr. Van Veldhuizen,
Yes.
Mayor Schwaller.
Yes. Thank you, Pam. But this time I'd like to invite Councilman Havens to rejoin our meeting. There he is.
I'm back.
All righty. Tonight, we have no introductions of ordinances, but we do have 3 resolutions. The first being Resolution 2021-N. Councilman Havens.
Thank you, Mayor. City of Bellbrook Resolution Number 2021-N, a resolution by the Council of the City of Bellbrook requesting the county auditor to certify the total current tax valuation of the City of Bellbrook and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by a specific number of mills. Whereas the council of the City of Bellbrook, who does Ohio, desires to request the voters to approve a 1.3 mil 5-year renewal general fund levy in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the purpose of providing current operating expenses. Whereas pursuant to section 5705.03 the revised code, council is required to certify the county auditor a resolution requesting the total current tax valuation of the City of Bellbrook and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by a specific number of mills. Now therefore, the City of Bellbrook hereby resolves Section 1, that pursuant to the provisions of Section 5705.19 of the revised code, it is necessary that a renewal to be levied in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the benefit of the City of Bellbrook for the purpose of providing current operating expenses of the general fund at a rate not exceeding 1.30 mils for each dollar of valuation, which amounts to 13 cents for each $100 of valuation for a 5-year period of time. Section 2, that the question of the passage of said renewal tax levy would be submitted to the electors of the city at an election to be held on November 2nd, 2021. If a majority of the voters voting on this renewal levy vote in favor, therefore the tax levy will be first placed on the tax list and duplicate for the tax year 2022 for collection in calendar year 2023. Section 3, that pursuant to section 5705.03 of the revised code, county auditor is hereby requested to certify to the City of Bellbrook the total current taxed valuation of the city and dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by the number of mills specified in section 1 hereof, and the clerk of council is hereby directed to certify forthwith a copy of this resolution to the county auditor upon its passage. Section 4, that this resolution shall take effect and be in force forthwith. I just got to say, I'm a little confused on this one. 10 mil and 1.3 mil. I'm hoping that would be explained.
Well, the 10 mil limitation, and Melissa, you can correct if I'm wrong, but the 10 mil limitation is what is not voted on. The piece that's in excess of the 10 mil limitation is the piece that is voted on. And the millage inside and outside millage move differently depending upon what happens. For example, the inside millage adjusts with revaluations. So we had our triennial revaluation. That's going to adjust the tax base for the inside millage. The outside millage, I think we're still subject to collecting the same amount of tax that we did back in 2017 when it was first passed. I don't think we can collect more tax than what we were provided at that time. And Melissa, is that correct? Or
That's correct.
okay.
Unless we were doing a replacement, it's going to be the exact same amount of money that we bring in.
And this is just a renewal.
Yes. So
And
this is, oh, go ahead.
And by the way, this is the only tax levy we have that is not permanent in nature. All the rest of them are all continuous. And this is the one we had that has a 5-year term. Okay, go ahead, Melissa. Sorry.
So this exact same legislation was passed in January of 2017. It's very standard language in which will signal to the Greene County Auditor to create a certificate of estimated property tax revenue. So once we receive that, then we will also pass another piece of legislation which is needed in order to include the ballot language for the November 2nd levy. So again, this is a 5-year renewal, and council had talked about the strategy for this because we have 3 opportunities in which to put this on a ballot for approval. So November would be our first opportunity, and that's what council chose to go with. So that is why we are proceeding with this now. And then at the end of July, we should have the certificate of estimated property tax revenue back from the auditor. And then we can go ahead and put the other resolution on that next council agenda.
And at that point, we'll be able to have the dollar amount per $100,000 in
Yes.
assessed valuation.
So just for a little bit of history, the last time that this was put on, it was $38 a year for $100,000 valuation, $77 a year for a $200,000 valuation of or appraised value of property. So that's what this levy is running, and those were the figures that it was last time. So once we get the certificate back from the auditor, we'll be able to plug it in and figure out how much it will cost each property owner.
I believe there's a chance it may go down.
Based on some of the valuations that I was looking at, there is a chance that it could go down a little bit for property owners.
For folks who like their streets cleaned in the wintertime, that's a bargain.
Absolutely.
I think the state still picks up to 10%. Right, Melissa?
This one, I'm trying to remember when this one originated in 2012. So I don't know if this one was eligible for homestead and rollback. I'll check on that for the next time. Because I forget what year it was that they did away with that. So any levy after a certain year, whether it was a replacement or a new levy, was not eligible for that. So I can't remember if this one was or not.
If it was new or replacement, then this is a renewal. That's different than those other 2 categories.
Okay, so in 2012, it was a renewal. I was trying to figure out what year this one started, and I know that I have it in a different spreadsheet.
I think the homestead, the rollback was maybe 2006.
Let's see. Okay, so this one has dated back to 1962, and it was renewed up until 1996 every 5 years. And then it was replaced in 2002. I think that changed where if you replaced, I think it was 2008. So this one should still be eligible for the homestead and rollback for us, yes.
Yeah, it would have been that same time frame, 2008, 2007, something like that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking this one was still eligible for the 10%, and that's meaningful to me anyway.
Yeah. And Ernie, did you understand the inside millage and outside millage? It's kind of confusing stuff, but the inside stuff is what's kind of not voted upon. The outside stuff is what's voted upon, and that's why they talk about inside or in excess of, which is the same as inside and then outside.
Yeah, I understood that. The thing that I was really struggling with was it said in excess of 10 mil, and we're asking for 1.3. Maybe I just didn't.
Yeah, that 10 mil limitation just refers to the inside millage, and that's just always how it's kind of discussed, which makes it kind of confusing.
No problem. I followed it, the explanation.
Yeah. Okay. Any more questions or discussions of council on resolution 2021-N? We're ready for a motion.
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you. In a second,
I'll second it.
Dr. Dave, thank you.
Sorry, TJ.
Okay.
All right.
All right, excuse me. A motion was made by Mr. Havens to adopt resolution 2021-N, a resolution by the council of the city of Bellbrook requesting the county auditor to certify the total current tax valuation of the city of Bellbrook and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by a specific number of mills. And this was seconded by Dr. Van Veldhuizen. Mr. Havens,
Yes.
Dr. Van Veldhuizen,
Yes.
Mr. Hope,
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood,
yes,
Mrs. Middlestetter,
yes,
Mayor Schwaller.
Yes. Next up is resolution 2021-O. This was scheduled to be read by Councilman Edwards. Since he's not here, do we have someone who can fill in for him?
I can fill in.
Thanks, TJ.
Yep. City of Bellbrook, resolution number 2021-O. A resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Greene County for the Community Investment Grant Program. Whereas the city of Bellbrook authorized the city manager to submit an application to Greene County Board of County Commissioners for their municipal grant program, also referred to as the Community Investment Grant Program, with resolution 2021-K on April 12, 2021. And whereas the grant application was a request in the amount of $26,625 and a 75% match of the downtown streetscape design plan cost. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners approved the grant request for the full amount during their April 29, 2021 meeting. Now therefore, the city of Bellbrook hereby resolves, Section 1, the city manager is hereby authorized to enter into an agreement with Greene County for the Community Investment Grant Program. Section 2, that this resolution shall take effect and be enforced immediately upon adoption.
Thanks, TJ.
Mhm.
Okay, so as council is aware, the county for the last 2 years had given money back to the municipalities based on 2 different formulas that they kind of revised. Each year they've revised this program, and this is the 3rd year in which they are seeking to give money back to the municipalities within the county. And so this year they restructured again, and this time you had to apply to receive a grant. And so we did apply to receive 75% match of the downtown streetscape design plan costs. And they reviewed our request and they granted it in full. And so attached to this resolution is an agreement which will need to be signed once I have the ability to do so upon the passage of this resolution. So basically what the agreement says is we can only use it for the project in which we applied for. We have 12 months to encumber the funds. And then we have 24 months from the date the grant funds are awarded to spend them on the project. And then we are ineligible for applying for another grant until the grant funds have been encumbered. So the project doesn't have to be fully finished yet, but as long as we've encumbered the funds and we are on track with the project, then we will be okay to apply for a future grant. So this is a really great thing. Our project is already started, so we will have no problem with encumbering the funds and spending them by the end of this year. So we will be definitely on track to follow all the stipulations within the agreement. So I'm really excited that they were supportive of our project and that they awarded us the grant and we're able to move forward.
Thanks, Melissa. I want to thank you personally for going through and applying for this and seeing that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So we got the full allotment that we were able to get. And I also want to publicly thank and recognize our county commissioners for putting this program together. I think this is the third or fourth year they've done something like this. Each year they've modified the rules a little bit to better reflect the communities that they serve. But I think that we're moving it toward a very nice program from how it first started. So thank you, Greene County Commissioners. Any discussion amongst council?
I'd just like to echo your comments, Mayor. Greene County Commissioners have turned this into a nice program.
They have. Any other comments or discussion?
I just agree with Forrest and you on the Greene County.
Yeah,
Sending the
absolutely.
money back to the communities.
Yeah. I think the first time we got funding, I think it was like $11,000. It was a very small amount and
It
it's
was a
kind
small
of ticked
amount.
upward since then. It's been kind of nice.
Yeah, nice that they readjusted their formula.
Absolutely. Any more discussion? If not, can we have a motion for resolution 2021-0?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, TJ. To second.
A
I'll
second.
second.
Thank you, Elaine.
Mr. Hope made a motion to adopt resolution 2021-0, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Greene County for the Community Investment Grant Program. And this was seconded by Mrs. Middlestetter. Mr. Hope,
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter,
Yes.
Mr. Havens,
Yes.
Dr. Van Veldhuizen,
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood,
Yes,
Mayor Schwaller.
Yes. Thank you, Pam. Next up is resolution 2021-P. Councilman Greenwood, please.
thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 2021-P, a resolution accepting the bid submitted by L&T Painting for the 750,000 gallon spheroid exterior overcoat, dry interior spot repaint, and miscellaneous repairs project. Whereas the city of Bellbrook advertised 4 bids for the 750,000 gallon spheroid exterior overcoat, dry spot, interior repaint, and miscellaneous repairs project according to specifications prepared by the city's engineer. And whereas L&T Painting was the lowest and best bidder for the project. Now therefore, the city of Bellbrook hereby resolves. Section 1, that the bid submitted by L&T Painting, Shelby Township, Michigan, for the 750,000 gallon spheroid exterior overcoat, dry spot, interior repaint, and miscellaneous repairs project with a bid price of $99,340 is hereby accepted. Section 2, that the city manager is hereby authorized to do all things necessary to execute a contract with L&T Painting as stated above. Section 3, that this resolution shall take effect and be enforced forthwith.
Thank you, Forrest.
Okay, so this was on the capital projects list for 2021. And what we did was we had contracted with Dixon Engineering, who we've used in the past for these water tower paintings and repairs. And so Dixon Engineering, we paid them $5,500 in order to handle this entire bid process, which is really nice. The bid document was 175 pages. So to me, that was money well spent because the detail that was in that bid document was incredible, and they are definitely in a much better spot to be able to put together a document like that than anybody on city staff. So they created the document and put it out to bid, and I believe we received, it was right around 10 bids for this. And so this was the lowest and the best bid. And so this water tower will actually have Bellbrook on it in one location, just like it does now. So that is what we are doing with this. So the engineer's estimate actually on this, when we first started, was $107,000. So this is below the engineer's estimate, which is great. So
Melissa, this is Bledsoe Drive, is it not?
yes, it is.
I looked at the budget. I was surprised we had a budget for 165,000. Are we really going to make that much of a favorable adjustment, or do we have other costs that we haven't included with this, or other costs that are related to it?
Well, we have the engineering, and then we have the engineer's estimate for what it would cost, and then they always build contingencies into that just in case. So, you know, once they get in there, we could have some additional costs once they start the work, but right now we've got quite a bit of padding. So 5,500 for the engineering, and then 99,340 for the painting, and then there's plenty of padding in there in case there are any contingencies that they run into.
Okay, very good. Thanks. Any other questions amongst council regarding resolution 2021-P? We have a motion, please.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution number 2021-P.
Thank you. In a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, TJ.
A motion was made by Mr. Greenwood to adopt resolution 2021-P, a resolution accepting the bid submitted by L&T Painting for the 750,000 gallon spheroid exterior overcoat, dry interior spot repaint, and miscellaneous repairs project. And this was seconded by Mr. Hope. Mr. Greenwood,
Yes.
Mr. Hope,
Yes.
Mr. Havens,
Yes.
Dr. Van Veldhuizen,
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter,
yes,
Mayor Schweller.
Yes. Thank you, Pam. We have no old business on tonight's agenda, but sadly we do have some new business. And that is to accept the resignation of Melissa Dodd as City Manager, Finance Director. By now, everyone should have received a copy of her resignation dated May the 31st. Since that time, we did have the newspaper came out with a brief article about it as far as where she was going. And we did at that point in time, I wrote a letter to the city, to the citizens of the city of Bellbrook to kind of explain what we knew and what was going on, and that rest assured, we're going to try to find someone good and strong, and no city matters will go unattended to during this transitional period. So in any event, we have before us to accept her resignation. Does anyone in council have any comments or thoughts?
I'd just like to state a couple comments. I know this year has been challenging for her. Melissa, I think you did an exceptional job in managing the bridge replacement. It came in under budget, and you also had us in the queue to receive grants that significantly helped out with that. Among a lot of things that you've done to get Bellbrook towards downtown revitalization in terms of updating a lot of the ordinances on the record. So just wanted to say thank you for all that you've done. It's been a pleasure. Thanks.
I'm going to miss you.
I'm going to miss you all.
And Melissa, I've been around longer than most people in council, and I think we took some giant steps while you were on board. And that's a compliment. And people like me don't like change very much, but certainly we made some big changes. I think before we'd made some baby steps, but I think you led us into a new chapter, and I look forward for us continuing the path that you got us started on. Thanks for what you did for us. It's appreciated.
Yeah, Melissa, I'd like to thank you for all you've done. You left a mark that'll always be here. And you're part of Bellbrook, whether you leave or not. So thanks for working for us.
Amen to that.
Again, Melissa's last day will be July 30th. Her last meeting with us will be, I believe, July 26th. So we have one more meeting in June and two in July to exhaust our knowledge of the city matters. So with that said, I think we have a motion to accept the resignation of our city manager.
I'll make a motion, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Van Veldhuizen. In a second,
I'll second it with regret.
thank you.
A motion was made by Dr. Van Veldhuizen to accept the resignation of City Manager Melissa Dodd, and this was seconded by Mrs. Middlestetter. Dr. Van Veldhuizen,
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter,
Yes.
Mr. Hoke,
Yes.
Mr. Havens,
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood,
Yes.
Mayor Schwaller.
Reluctantly, yes. Thanks, Pam. Next up is the city manager report.
Okay, this one's loaded, so get ready, get comfortable. Our planning and zoning assistant is no longer with us. Her last day was Tuesday, the 8th. So we are working to kind of fill in the gaps and try to figure out where things have been left. So just want to ask for patience from the community as we try to get our bearings and get our feet under us and try to get any pending matters handled in a timely fashion. So we are just working really hard on picking that up. So I will leave decisions for the future of that position with the next city manager. I feel like that's the best thing to do at this time. The water system was tested again through the Ohio EPA, and the most recent sample was taken on May 13th, and we have been tested 4 times total since August 8th of 2020. And there were trace amounts of PFAS that were detected in our water system. And this last test, our results were below the detectable level. So that's a good thing. So I'm not sure how that happened. We have operated the same as we always have because there really is no way to mitigate that toxin in the water. So we did not have a large amount, and it was still under the level of concern from the OEPA, but it was detected at one point and it's not now. So they will continue to monitor the water and give us those test results. So stay tuned, but the last test results were very good. So no PFAS detected. We have just completed our finance and utility billing software conversion. That happened on Friday, June 4th. So we have been working really hard to try to make sure that all of our data is there, that our processes are being handled appropriately. It's fine to make sure that all of the dollar amounts and the customers are in the right places, but it's once you start going through your processes, sometimes it will throw some wacky things at you that you just kind of have to work through the kinks. So it's been working out pretty fine. We did have one small hiccup with our utility bills. The way that some of the data transferred over, a couple of our renters' bills went to the landlords instead. So it was just a handful that we can figure out, but council thankfully waived all the penalties for the next 3 months. That was in anticipation of some of these bugs happening. We don't want anybody to be penalized because they paid their bill late, because they didn't receive it late, because of something that we could have never anticipated, such as this. So we are still just working really hard just to make sure that everything's working correctly. But I believe that so far so good, except for the one small hiccup. Our streetscape plan is in full swing. On Monday, June 7th, Service Director Ryan Paisley and I went out with the Kleiners Group staff. There was 4 of them that came to town. Thankfully, that was during the week of the monsoon rains, and the Sky cooperated with us for a couple hours so that we could walk around downtown. And it was nice because they wanted to be able to just see what we had with us and just kind of ask our input, like, So what do you think about this? What would you think about that? And it was just a really nice conversation so that they have some idea of just how things are maintained and how things kind of got to be the way that they are, which, you know, Ryan's history and knowledge of the downtown and a lot of the changes that have been made over the years have been really beneficial to that conversation, because he knew a lot about why things were the way that they were, which was really good for that kind of reference for them. So they're going to go back and work on some items for that plan, and then they will meet back with us again in a couple weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, I think. So we're hoping that if everything stays on track as it should, that that plan will be done by October, and then you guys will have a master plan to move the downtown forward, and you guys can chip away at it as you see fit. So I'm really excited to see how that comes together. So there is a future annexation that is going to be brought to council. This should happen before I leave. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. There's a property on Terrace Creek and Highview Terrace, and there is 2 parcels. One has road frontage, the other one does not have any road frontage, and it's behind the property. And they're wanting to build a pool on the back property, which is their backyard, but it's 100% in the township. So by creating this outdoor area connecting to their house, effectively they are combining the lots on their own. So the township is approving the pool permit, because I can't approve a permit for a structure on a piece of property that's not in a city. So they are approving the pool permit with the stipulation that they request annexation in the next 30 days. So that's all going to depend on when their permit gets approved, but I'm looking for that to happen soon. So I know that they were anxious to get their pool moving. So just stay tuned for that. So that'll be a cleanup that's going to occur. Bellbrook TV update. We're still waiting for the installation of a new communication line to the city building. So that is with Spectrum. We're just waiting to get onto their schedule. And it's just another step in getting that cable system back up and running. So it's a very slow process. American Rescue Plan, we still have not received any funding from that. Nobody else has either. I believe that since they're still kind of trying to figure out what is happening with the townships, that whether or not they're going to be allocated any money or not, the Treasury has put that on the shoulders of the individual states to kind of sort out. In the way that the townships in Ohio are being categorized, it appears that they would not be eligible, but they're still trying to work all that out. So we should have received the money back in May, and nobody has received it yet. So that will be coming straight from the state, but we do have 4 years to use it. So it's not like we're on a tight timeline like we were the first round of coronavirus relief funds. So that's a good thing. Article 14, it's coming. It's coming to the next meeting. So I'm super excited to get that cleaned up before I leave. We've put a lot of effort into that. Planning board saw it, and then legal saw it, and then we took it back to planning board because legal had a number of recommendations that we incorporated. The VRB is going to take a look at it on the 22nd. They don't technically have to approve it, but since they're the body that works with it, we did want to make sure that they were able to see it. So Pam and I really worked on this last week in terms of how do we work backwards to make sure that this can get taken care of before I leave. So VRB is going to look at it on the 22nd. We were going to put a work session on the 26th for you guys to take some time to look at it. Pam and I, if you guys want to see it in advance, VRB might point out a few things that, we didn't think about, but if you'd like to see it before they look at it, we can certainly send it out. Otherwise, we can wait until after VRB sees it, but it's definitely a much more clear and concise document. And it actually has drawings that make sense and are readable, which is a good thing. So the plan is to bring it to a work session for you guys to talk about on the 26th and introduce it as an ordinance. The first meeting in July and then the last meeting in July, hopefully we will adopt that. So have that public hearing. Finally, well, maybe not finally, I added one more thing on here. Goals update. I want to be able to meet with each council committee in July to review the status of the goals so everybody knows where we are with those. And then I can bring that back to council as a whole if you'd like, or I can just kind of leave it at the committee level. I'm just not sure how you guys want to move forward with that. I definitely want to meet with each committee individually though in July, just to kind of talk about where I'm at with things so that everybody's very clear on where they're left. Mike, you're on mute.
I would appreciate a written summary of where you're at on all of them, just so we can have something to have a document, so we kind of know where the new city manager is going to start, and we can kind of track progress moving forward from there.
Perfect.
Anybody else with any thoughts?
And I would like to see Article 14 ahead of as soon as possible, because it's a lengthy document. I want to be able to wrap my head around it. And I'm going to be gone for a week and a half or so in early July, so I'd like a chance to look at it.
Okay,
We can get that out tomorrow.
Great, thank you.
very good. Yeah.
And the last thing is the Little Sugar Creek boring report. We have that. And I'm asking that I'm not sure exactly who's going to present on that, but I do want to make sure that that's also presented on before I leave. So it looks like I was talking with the company that did it, and they were saying the July 26th meeting would be the best. So I just need to figure out if you guys want to do that in regular meeting or an hour work session before the meeting. I know I'm throwing a lot at you guys, but I want to get some of these things moving. So
I would say a work meeting would be better. That way we've got enough time to commit to it.
I would
Yeah,
agree. I think it's an hour work session.
okay, got it. That's it for me.
Any questions of the city manager?
I just have one, due to you leaving, Melissa, the Brooks Mill race. Is there going to be some follow on or point of contact? I know there's a lot of traffic and all these different things for the setup, and we had one race and then COVID hit. And, the corporate knowledge of the race, I guess, is something that maybe can be carried out in your absence.
So we have, Brandon Huff is the race director. He handles all areas of that. So the race, we've got a meeting on the books. It's in the next week or two. So Chief Doherty, Chief Bizarro, and our service director, we're all three going to sit down with him and meet and start talking about all of that stuff. So I've got that pretty much handled.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments of the city manager? Moving on, thank you, Melissa. Moving on to committee reports, service.
Not a whole lot, Mayor. The tower painting, that if you read the documentation on that is a large project in the scope of what they do. And the price compared to what they do is, I think it's a bargain. And like Melissa stated, the PFAS studies came out great. And we did have a little bit detected in the first one, but I just appreciate the state taking the stance that they did about doing all the testing that they can, so you do know what you're facing, and moving forward, it sounds like the state EPA is going to continue on this process, and that's great. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Safety.
Yeah, just one point I wanted to bring up. In the community leaders meeting, the topic of a school resource officer did come up. Obviously, nothing was decided or directed in that. It was just a topic that came up and a lot of people were in support of it. So I would just expect that issue to be discussed in further detail in the future. So just didn't want anybody to be surprised. Everybody was on board and supportive. It's just a matter of figuring out what it costs and the logistics of it. So that's all I got.
Thank you, TJ. Finance not, I know Nick's not here. Does anyone else want to speak?
Do you want me to reach out to Nick this week and see if there's any pressing issues coming up, Mayor?
You can, but we won't meet again for another 2 weeks. We'll find out from then at that point in time. But if there's anything that you're aware of, let us know. Like the biggest thing right now is just getting the numbers in for the water tower painting. And I guess the next thing will be the borings and the condition of Little Sugar Creek Road. So thank you, Dr. Dave. Elaine, Community Affairs.
Okay, we had 2 applicants for the Old Village Review Board, both of whom have withdrawn their application, so it has been reposted. So that will be taken care of in due time. And we have posting out for the replacement for a Board of Zoning Appeals position. So those 2 are pending. And once we have any applications, we'll proceed with interviews.
Thank you, Elaine. Clerk update.
You're muted.
Thank you. So I had forgotten to include the monthly board update in the packet. I did get it sent out this afternoon, but I'll just briefly run through it and then I'll include it into the packet that's online and it'll be in the minutes from this meeting. But anyway, in May, the VRB met at the beginning of May. They approved 3 signs. One was a plaza at a wall sign on Not Your Average Massage, and one of them was the ground sign for Art Town at 129 West Franklin Street. Oh, and the other one is on South Main, the taxidermy, Blaze Taxidermy is getting a new sign for their place also. They also approved a demolition request for 100 East Franklin Street. So that gives the property owner some options there. And then Planning Board met on May 20th. And they reviewed the legal changes that had happened with Article 14. And they also approved a zoning verification letter fee, which you'll be seeing that come along after it gets through the rest of the process. But so that was it for the boards. The BZA did not meet in May. And then upcoming, just I think we covered a little bit of this. At the next meeting, June 28th, we're going to have 6 o'clock work session to review Article 14. On June 29th, which is the very next day, Tuesday, it's going to be an executive session to consider, what do you call them, applicants for the city manager position. And let's see, July 12th, we'll have hopefully the introduction of Article 14 in ordinance form, followed by the public hearing on July 26th and the resolution for the general fund levy renewal will come on July 26th also. One thing also to keep in mind, this date has not up until this point, extended the virtual meeting allowance that we've had since COVID started. So unless that changes in the next, was it 2 weeks? What's today, the 14th? By the end of the month, that means in July, we go back to in-person meetings. So keep everybody up to date. If that changes, I'll let everybody know. That's all for me.
Thank you, Pam. Does anyone have any questions of the clerk?
I'm just curious, what was the demolition request for?
So you know the house at 100 East Main? Oh, okay. It's the one that's
Not East Main. East.
not East Main, East Franklin. I'm so sorry. Yes, 100 East Franklin. Sorry. The it's changed hands a lot, Mr. Clemens, Nate Clemens, has been speaking with the property owner, and they wanted to just see if it would be allowable for that property for that structure to be demolished and something else to be built on that. So when that came before them, the cost of just repairing the structure that's there is overwhelmingly.
Which one? I can't place. I don't know which one it is.
It's been bought and sold.
It's the
Yeah,
brown house 2 doors down from Dollar General.
Okay,
one that's
the one
been
that,
vacant.
the one
It's-
that they've let go to pot so they could demolish it. What are they going to replace it with?
So that would have to come before planning board and and VRB with a plan. But what Mr. Clemens was talking about, and I can get you the minutes from that meeting, and you can see, or you can watch the video. But it would obviously have to meet all the requirements to be in the old village and with size requirements and everything. And it sounds like they have a nice plan in mind.
Okay, because I know that if we demolish something, they have to have solid replacement plans
Yes.
in place.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions of the clerk?
No, I just wanted to add, I've had some dialogue with, I don't know if it's the current owner or the previous owner, the complexity of renovating that property. It was not feasible. And I have heard, I haven't seen anything, but the tentative plans sound really impressive.
Good to hear. Okay, next up on the agenda is open discussion of council. Councilman Greenwood.
Just would like to reiterate, Melissa, what a great job you've done, and we'll be missing you. And like I say, we're going to be looking at hiring somebody else. And I've been through this before. It's not easy. It's tough. And and I just want to wish you good luck in your new position. And I'm sure you'll do well. That's all I have.
Thank you, Forrest. Councilman Havens.
Thank you, Mayor. Really not a lot. Just wanted to say another thank you to the Greene County Commissioners and really let them know how important what they've done for us is for the entire community. And so I just wanted to personally thank Commissioners Gould and Kugler and Perales for continuing the specialized funding that they've been doing. It's helping us to accomplish this. And then lastly, I just want to wish Melissa the best in her new position.
Thank you, Ernie. Councilman Hoke.
Yeah, also wanted to wish Melissa best in her future endeavors. Best of luck in Fairborn. I wanted to ask Pam, do you know, I know there's been a pressing issue on BZA PRC. I've been contacted by a resident in Bellbrook Just is there any progress that can be made with regard to any issues while a meeting has not been held?
So I do know that as we are trying to figure out where everything stands at this present time, we have reached out to all the current, people waiting on, well, we're still working on, but reaching out to everyone who has current permits or violations and things, and just trying to get a handle on all of that. I know that one situation, the property owner is actually in process of mitigating the problems that were there. Spoke with that person today. The other one, we haven't heard back from, that we've been trying to reach out to. So it'll take us some time to get all of this figured out, but we're trying to make sure we don't drop any balls there. So.
Okay. If there's anything that I could do to help, I know I'm probably limited in my capacity as just a council member, but if there's anything that just needs to be offloaded or assisted, I'd be happy to. Just let me know.
Thank you.
Pam,
And
there's a
then,
meeting tomorrow night, is there not?
There is not. That was canceled. It was kind of complicated. That it had to do with timing of things. So that one did get canceled, and so we'll see where those play out.
I was noticed on the first meeting, but I didn't get notice of cancellation that I'm aware of.
You didn't? Because okay, I'll check and see. But yeah, the cancellation was sent out on Thursday.
Okay, maybe I'll have the mail tomorrow then. No problem.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
And then just one other thing I wanted to shout out, kudos to another issue that came up in the community leaders meeting. To Dr. Kozad and the school board, they are working to try to mitigate traffic flow issues. They try to address this every year. It is a very complicated issue, but to any residents, they are putting forth as much forethought into mitigating those issues that do pop up for pickup. Drop off is a little more streamlined. It's pickup from school hours. That is the challenge. So they are working it or trying to see what can be done. That's all I got.
Thanks, TJ. Councilwoman Middlestetter.
I too thank the Greene County Commissioners for their generosity in sharing the wealth with the communities. And Melissa knows I'm going to miss her terribly, so I don't need to repeat that again. And I had something else and I can't remember what it was now because I didn't write it down. So that's it for tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Van Veldhuizen.
Simply like to say, Melissa, thank you for all the hard work you put into the city. You put your heart and soul into it, and we appreciate it very much.
And finally, Melissa, I'd like to echo the same comments about your departure. It certainly came as a surprise to me. I hate to see you go. It sounds like you're going into something that's going to be interesting and challenging and a much bigger budget than what we have in the city of Bellbrook. For the viewing audience, we have posted the position. It is on our website. We are in the process right now of receiving applications, and we're going to review them for the first viewing on June the 29th to try to get the process moving as quickly as we can so we don't have a huge gap in service between Melissa and her replacement. And again, the challenging aspect of our job is that we're always looking for someone who can be both city manager and finance director. And that's getting to be more and more of a challenge given the specialization that people tend to kind of gravitate to. But Melissa, you'll certainly be missed. Pam, is there anyone in the viewing audience who'd like to speak tonight?
No hands are going up.
Okay. Seeing none, does anyone in council have any other business to bring before us this evening? Seeing none, I declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Take care all.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.